Hello and welcome to episode 274 of Drink the Movies. I'm Brian here, as always, with Michaela. And Michaela, we're talking about the fifth Toy Story installment today. And we've not covered any of the Toy Story films before, which is maybe an oversight. But we did touch on it a little bit. I remember a couple months back, we started dabbling with our video episodes, and Toy Story came up as one of the most monumental films of them all. And certainly it is. We're gonna touch kind of on all of these, but we're getting, I think, maybe the culmination of Toy Story stories. I feel like Toy Story is never really going to go away, but this feels very much like a nice conclusion. Again, although the last three now have felt like a good conclusion.
Yeah. I don't know how many times they're gonna tell these stories, but one thing I have really enjoyed is that all five are actually quite different stories. I was really concerned when Toy Story 4 came out because I thought Toy Story 3 was the end, and Toy Story 4 was an original story. It was different. And then I was like, they can't possibly top it with Toy Story 5. And then they did from a story perspective, at least. So yeah, I feel like maybe this is the end. I mean, the Tom Hanks and
Tim
oh my
Allen,
gosh,
yeah.
Tim Allen. Thank you, Tom Hanks and Tim Allen. They're getting up there, and I don't think they have the AI contract signed where we can take their voice and just continue to make it in perpetuity. So they're going to
I
have
hope
to
not.
hand over the reins at some point, I imagine, to Jesse or someone that's not been collecting Social Security for 80 years. So I don't know. We'll see. But we're going to talk
And
about all the things Toy Story 5, and I'm super excited about that.
and spoiler warning for the episode, in a lot of ways, I feel like they did pass those reins over. But we're going to talk about that once we get into the movie. And before we do that, we need to mix up a cocktail, and it's a new fandangled cocktail. It's going to come in. It's going to take up all of our time, focus all of our energy and attention and effort into it. So let's do this. Let's grab some Midori, and we'll be right back to mix up this week's drink.
So, Brian, I scoured the internet trying to find a Toy Story cocktail, um, because I feel like some of mine that I've been creating on the side have been very hit or miss. But it's been fun experimenting. But this one, this isn't really that inspired. I just wanted something that was going to pay homage to the series, or at least the movie, this last movie. And I was thinking blue because everybody knows that really beautiful blue sky with the clouds in it. And I was going to
Mhm.
try and figure that out. But I couldn't get the cloud part to work. Like marshmallow cream seemed too icky. I just couldn't figure it out. But what I did do
Okay.
was make a cocktail that is very green and actually pretty tasty. And if you got Midori on hand, which everybody should have, this is a really nice accompaniment to watching this film. And so I brought the Lilypad with me. We're going to call it the Lilypad because it might take over our lives. It might not have our best interests at heart, but it's going to be good for a little bit, at least.
Going to be good for a little bit. Probably like the lily pad, Midori and the Midori sour, which is what this is coming to us from Japan, right? That export. We've talked about Midori a few times here on the podcast, and yeah, this one's pretty simple. It is a classic uh, disco era cocktail and also a technology era cocktail. I think in those terms today. So let's go ahead and make one. Let's grab a tall, like Collins glass, or you could even use probably like a beer glass, whatever, some sort of tall glass. Put some ice in there, and then you're going to add 1.5 ounces of vodka, 1 ounce of your Midori, 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, a half an ounce of simple syrup. Go ahead and give that a pretty good stir, and then you're going to top it off with some club soda. Stir it again just so that effervescence kind of takes over that. And what you have is a Japanese melon flavored soda that is pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. How many of these have you had? Because you
Like in
really
my
love
lifetime,
Midori. Yeah, I
or
mean,
just in general.
is this like the Midori drink of choice for you? Because um,
You
you
know,
really like Midori.
it's weird because I do like Midori and I feel like I don't make these enough. Like I just don't ever like think about it or like get it into my head, but I should make more of these because I find like a Midori sour or the lily pad here to be like deliciously refreshing. It's
Mm.
simple, like their ingredient, vodka, of course, pretty much everyone has on hand all the time. And if you have a bottle of Midori and you're dosing it out 1 ounce at a time, you have yourself, I don't know, like 22 Midori sours you could be making here. So it's really simple. It's really refreshing. It's perfect for the summer. So yeah, I don't make these as much as I should, but I definitely should make them more often than I do.
Yeah, I have to say that this changed my mind. We've been doing a few Midori drinks this year, and Midori
Hmm.
usually was my least favorite of like the liqueurs because it was so sweet. Um, and I think it's so sweet because it was made in really sweet, like super sweet cocktails, and that's why I never
Hmm.
liked it. I really enjoyed this. It's really sort of changed my entire outlook on Midori. Um, just
Yeah.
because it's refreshing and it is on the sweet side. So you maybe want to watch the simple syrup a little bit, but it's not so sweet I didn't want it. And it's like, I don't know, you could really taste the Midori in it, depending on the
Hmm.
vodka that you use, I guess, because I use just a really straight um uh vodka that doesn't have any flavoring and it's just really crisp and clean tasting. And so I
Hmm.
really enjoyed that aspect of it and it I don't know, it just changed my mind on it.
Yeah, I think the Midori kind of gets a bad rap because you'll have a lot of divier type places that'll make them, and they'll make them either with sweet and sour mix, which is far sweeter than just the lemon juice and
Mm.
simple syrup, or they'll make them with Sprite, Seven Up, something like that, which would have been how they were making them in the '70s when Midori first came over to the states. But using the club soda and like a homemade lemon juice, simple syrup is going to go a long way in letting that Midori flavor shine as opposed to just contributing to this sugary mess that you have in a drink. So yeah, so that is the Lilypad. If it's causing you trouble, just unplug it, and then you can interrogate it in the morning, see what it did last night. I don't know. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about all of it. We'll talk about all the Toy Stories here. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll be right back to chat about this week's film, Toy Story 5.
Spoiler warning for Toy Story 5, and probably all the Toy Stories, actually. You've been warned. Um, there's five of these, and I don't want to say that they're like super surprising in the end, but there are things that happen that might spoil it for you. If you don't want it to be spoiled, you should press pause, go make yourself a lily pad, get some Midori, bring a box of tissues, and go watch all of the Toy Stories because you will need to see them before you watch Toy Story 5. I think that that is going to be slightly important to understand all the dynamics that are going on here. You've been warned. We're spoiling all of them just for you.
You've been warned. I'm not sure if there's enough tissues for a certain scene in the whole state of Texas for Michaela. We'll see how we make it through there. But yeah, spoiler for Toy Story 5, and yeah, grab your tissues for sure. This was released in 2026, just a couple of weeks ago, or just last week, I guess, as of this recording. It was directed by Andrew Stanton, who has been on board with all the Toy Stories, wrote them. This is the first one that he's directed, I believe. Got his directorial debut with Finding Nemo, directed Wall-E. So Andrew Stanton, pretty good at this Pixar world building here. The stars Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, of course, as Woody and Buzz. Joan Cusack is Jessie, the sheriff of Bonnie's Toys, and Greta Lee is here playing Lilypad. Maybe if Toy Story 5 doesn't make you cry, maybe having Greta Lee voicing our villain slash hero, maybe almost kind of in a way, harkening back to that past lives trauma that Michaela has had so much. So you mentioned spoiler warning for the rest of the Toy Stories. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to talk about those here for just I don't know, like 2 minutes. So if you don't want to be spoiled on the other four Toy Stories, go ahead and pause, skip ahead 2 minutes because I'm going to run through these here pretty quick. So Toy Story 1, it comes out in 1995. It's a Pixar thing. It's kind of like co-opted by Disney. Pixar was formed by Lucasfilm. George Lucas gets Pixar off the ground. Steve Jobs comes into owning it, taking over, kind of controlling share of that before it eventually gets sold to Disney. I think in 2006, but they had this contract to make films with Disney, kind of there in the time that these films were coming out. So 1995, Toy Story Part One comes out. You have Woody, we have all of Andy's toys there, and Buzz Lightyear arrives. Three Oscar nominations for Toy Story One: original screenplay, original score, and original song, and it wins a special achievement Oscar for bringing computerized animation to the masses. So there you go. Toy Story Part 2 comes out in 1999. It gets one Oscar nomination for original song. Woody gets left behind, cowboy camp. That's sad news. So he goes off. He's going to go to some like Tokyo toy gallery thing, kind of starts to buy into his own hype. We get introduced to Jessie there in that film. Toy Story Part 3 comes out in 2010. Five Oscar nominations here for this one. Two wins. It wins animated feature and best original song. It's also nominated for adapted screenplay, best sound editing, and best picture. Pretty good. In that episode, Andy is off to college. The toys, mistaken identity, end up at daycare. That's a whole thing. And the toys eventually get passed down to Bonnie. Toy Story Part 4 comes out in 2019. Two Oscar nominations here, one win for animated feature, of course, and best original song. Again, those songs are just banging through Toy Story. And we have a new song here we're going to talk about in just a second. Toy Story Part 4, we learn about the world of abandoned toys as Bonnie is going on this road trip and Woody sees kind of the light at the end of his tunnel and decides to take on a new journey for himself. And that leaves us with Toy Story Part 5, which just came out, which has, as of right now, not gotten any Oscar nominations, but it's going to have a couple. Maybe we'll talk about those here as we make our way through the film. So, Michaela, Toy Story, it's a franchise, 1995. Do you remember watching that? What are your just kind of like general thoughts and opinions and feelings about Toy Story? And then we'll get into this new one.
I remember being pretty amazed watching it. It was a very different animation than what I had seen before. Because remember, I was an 80s kid, so like we're from the days of like Lion King and The Little Mermaid, where they're actually drawing like flames and stuff. They're actually
Hmm.
drawing these things and putting them together in that way. So this was like one of the very first computer animated looking computerized things that looked really great. I remember thinking that the movie was pretty great. I remember being kind of worried when they did a sequel that they were going to ruin it somehow.
Hmm.
But I have to say, I think they've done a really good job of balancing like the story arcs with the special animation, and you can see the growth from an animation perspective. You can see like how the technology has gotten better and better and better over this 25-30 year period, right?
Yeah.
And I want to talk a little bit about that at some point. But yeah, I do remember pretty vividly seeing the first film and in a theater and being kind of in wonder and awe at how it looked. And I don't think I knew then how much of a cornerstone this would become and how the domino effect would change the way we look at animated films from now on, which makes
Hmm.
sense, right? I mean, somebody did. That's why it won a special achievement Oscar, right?
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah, I mean, same, like even back in, 1995, so it would have been like 13, 14 years old whenever this came out, we would have went and seen it at the movie theater. And like even at that like young of an age, like it felt like very monumental and like what like animation was going to go on to achieve. And I mean, we've seen a lot of animation, leaps and bounds over the time. And speaking of, just the way that these films have looked, going back, I just binged through these four this past week. I think you probably did the same, or at least caught up on parts of the stories here. But just like watching like the animation, like not only of just like the characters, but I mean you have like a character like Bo Peep, who is Woody's kind of faux love interest, kind of in those early films, and then comes back in the Toy Story Part 4, like completely just rendered. It looks like literal like walking porcelain like on the screen. Like it's absolutely staggering. And we're going to talk a little bit about how this film looks here in just a second, but let's set the stage here for this movie. I don't want to get into crazy spoilers and things. This movie did just come out. I know that a lot of people hold this near and dear. It's already up to close to $400 million worldwide after about 5 days out. So everyone in the world is probably going to see this here at some point. So you probably didn't really need all those spoiler warnings. But basically, Bonnie is there. She's playing with her toys. You have like a very big like epic opening scene because it's kind of twofold, right? So we've got the like a wedding ceremony that Bonnie's putting on, playing with all of her toys, getting the gang back together. We're getting to see them play out in this kind of thing that's kind of been a staple here over the last couple of films. And then you also have like this dual like opening storyline where this cargo ship has wrecked, and just I don't know, like 200 Buzz Lightyear toys are just strewn about the beach here on this deserted island, which is pretty amazing. They all kind of activate, and it's just like Buzz from the first Toy Story, right? When he becomes sentient and thinks he's a real space ranger there. Except these ones are new models. So you have kind of those dual storylines. What do you think so far, Michaela? We're getting into this world. What do you think?
I was really excited to see I was really excited to see the water animation. Does that sound weird? Like when because
The
all
water
the
looks
Buzz
crazy good.
Lightyears,
The water looks so
yeah,
good. They
they
build a
they're caught
raft. It
off.
looks
They build a
incredible.
raft, and it's like I mean, Moana was beautiful, but holy moly, this was insane. They're in the middle of this tiny island, and they're like, well, we gotta get out. We gotta. Um, and they all work together, which I think is really great. I was worried at first when I saw like the 1600, boxes. I was like, oh God, they're all going to fight each other. It's going to be
Mm,
weird.
hmm. Yeah.
Um, but they don't do that. But I was really waiting for how this was going to tie into the other story, or if they even would. I was kind of wondering if this would kind of lead into maybe a Toy Story 6, where now we have these rogue, these rogue, Buzz Lightyears
Rogue
all
Buzz
over the
Lightyears,
place, and
right?
and what was going to happen. And meanwhile, yeah, we're watching Bonnie really play with her toys and just love on them. And now I think, she's in first or second grade and she's really trying to make friends, but she's really shy. There's these kids across the street, and she's like waving her little doll at them, and they are like, "You're weird. That's strange," which is not nice. Tell your kids to be nice to other kids. What is up with that? Anyway, but they go inside, and she can see that they go inside and like sit on their pads because that's what's happened. And her family decides to go ahead and help her developmentally. I guess they're worried that she's not going to make friends. They're worried that she's just, I don't know, going to fall behind somehow. And so they get her this new toy called the Lilypad. And
Like to get her the
yeah,
lily pad. Yeah, absolutely. So we've got Bonnie's toys there. They're now kind of under the helm of Jesse, right? Woody has left the group of the toys, and in the last episode, he goes off to, kind of help out and take care of abandoned toys. You get like a QC in with Woody and Bo and Duke Boom. They're like rescuing this little like parachuting like peanut like character
yeah.
out of a tree, which is pretty fun. And yeah, Jesse is like, what's up with those rude kids over there? I'm gonna go see what's going on. We need to get Bonnie some friends. That's our job as toys, I guess. So she goes over there and she sees like the other kids. She's like, they're not even playing because they're just sitting there on their
Hmm.
rectangles, which is what kids do when they get together and socialize now. So um so she goes back, she kind of reports back to the toys, and then yeah, bad news. Jesse and crew, because mom and dad have been like, man, Bonnie is not making any friends. All of these kids seem to be on these pads. Maybe that's the route we should go. So they get her a pad, and I love like the day the pad comes, and her dad's like, okay, or mom is like, okay, you can take today to learn how to use it, and then it's just like this montage of her just being on it for like 24 straight hours, which is pretty true, and a lot of us can identify with exactly how that goes. So, bad news: Lilypad is in the room now. She's kind of taken over. Gretelly is voicing her. You immediately, as us as older people, we immediately hate Lilypad. I don't know if kids are like, man, I really want a Lilypad now. I don't know how that works exactly, but the toys are very skeptical of this. But Lilypad does have one good thing that she can do. She makes Bonnie like three friends in like 1 second.
Yeah. It's really interesting, and I loved this dynamic as a parent, right? And as a person who kind of grew up in this like technology age where we had no technology when we were young, and now we have all the technology now that we are old. And so I thought it was really great, because at first Jessie is like, hey, this is how it works, and all the other toys that she's talking to outside, they're all like, oh, this is the end. It's the end of the toy era. Like, they don't want to play anymore with toys. They want these pads. They want these phones. They want a screen. They do not want to play with us. And Jesse at first is like, no, surely that's not true. It'll be fine. But then the lily pad is like, I can do something that you can't do. Here, ting, ting, ting. Now she has three friends, and the only way she can talk to these three friends is through me. So you're useless and goodbye. And so, I find that to be, it was really hard and disheartening to watch Jesse and the other toys be like, well, oh my gosh, she did it in such a short amount of time. But turns out that pressing a couple buttons and being able to connect with someone through the interwebs is does a friend not make? It does not. It doesn't. It's not that simple. Unfortunately, she does make sure that she gets invited to a sleepover. And so Bonnie goes to the sleepover, and Jessie and her beautiful horse decide that they need to go with her. And she at first is like, no, she doesn't want them in her suitcase because she doesn't want to get embarrassed. And Lilypad does warn them. She's like, that's not going to work. The kids my age, the kids her age, they don't play with toys anymore. They just play with me. So don't do that. But she does it anyway. And it becomes really kind of um, I don't know, kind of a strange dynamic because when she gets home, I do notice she's real tired. because she's
Hmm.
probably been up all night on her pad.
Yeah.
Ask me how I know this. And she just wants a snack. She doesn't look particularly like joyful. She's not like that was the best time ever. She's just like, meh, yeah, I'm real tired. And I
Yeah.
found that to be kind of neat to kind of show that, you know, you think that you're going to have the best time just sitting next to someone on a pad, but are you really gonna?
Are you really are you really making friends? I think is kind of the thesis, the takeaway we're supposed to get here from this. But yeah, I love that. I wanted to make mention because we have kind of leading up to this sleepover, this first sleepover with the Lilypad friends, I guess we'll call them. You have like this plot thread of Buzz like really wanting to propose to Jesse, which is adorable and hilarious all at the same time because you've seen kind of their love sort of blossom, I guess, over the last few entries here of this film series. She's also talking to Woody about the abandoned toys. There's kind of some staticky miscommunication there where Buzz overhears that Jesse wants him to be the sheriff as she goes off to the sleepover, and Woody hears that she needs him to come back and be the sheriff of these toys. You get the reunion there. I thought that was kind of setting up for a little bit more kind of conflict between Buzz and Woody, but they seem to be pretty friendly and jovial about that through the course of the film, which was fun. You have Woody there wearing a poncho, which is a pretty funny gag, I think, as well. That's nice, and of course
Woody's
he's
bald
balding,
spot.
which is something that came up, I think, in Toy Story Part 2, right? They had to get that bald spot filled in before he was going to go off to the museum there in Tokyo. So that's fun. So yeah, the sleepover doesn't go great, especially it goes really bad if you're Jesse and the horse. What the heck is the horse's name? I probably should have written that down here, but they are going to end up getting lost and end up getting grabbed by an older couple, and they see that Jessie has a name and an address inside of her little pant leg right there. So they decide to go and drop it off, and they drop her off at that home that we saw way back in Toy Story Part 2, and probably the second most emotional scene for me, at least in the whole of the Toy Story franchise, is Jessie like recollecting, when she was abandoned by Emily, her former owner. So she's now back at Emily's house, but there's a new family living there with a new slew of toys, who, of course, Jessie is immediately skeptical of because they are tech toys, although they are a little bit of older models than before. So we have Smarty Pants. There, a toilet training toy voiced by Conan O'Brien. We also have there is the little talking like hippo, looks like a little like flip phone. It has like a GPS in it. I'm not really 100% sure what else that toy could do, but that seems pretty fun. And then there's also a little camera called Snappy, voiced by Shelby Rabara. Craig Robinson voices Atlas, the little hippo. GPS locator toy there, and then you have the standoff, right? So you have Jesse, who is skeptical of the tech toys. You have these tech toys who feel they're just as much as toys, and it's kind of a coming together of sense and seeing the value in each other.
Yeah. I loved a couple of things with this dynamic. First of all, Jessie is really kind of traumatized coming back. She's like that, she remembers being played
Yeah,
with, and then
she's
she
been
remembers,
traumatized for 3 films already
yeah,
about this. So
this poor. Well, I think that goes to show like what the when she calls the other three tech toys useless, that is
mhm,
like it seems like that is the worst thing that you could tell a toy, that
mhm.
they don't have a use. um and that seemed really interesting to me, because then she had to apologize because she didn't really think that they were useless. But and they turn out that she wouldn't have been able to do any of the rest of this film without them. um but they all actually they all care about their human, which I think is interesting, because at the beginning we're like, Lilypad doesn't care. Lilypad just
Mhm.
wants to take over, and have this power dynamic over all the other toys. And we've come to find out that that's not true by talking to these three others, which I think is kind of a neat dynamic, where you think someone's the enemy, but then you see someone just like them and they're not the enemy. So maybe that person that you thought was bad is maybe not so bad.
Mhm.
I really love that, because kids need to learn that. Just because one person treats you that way, it doesn't mean that they're all going to, or whatever, right? So I loved that. I also really liked um, some of the shots, or I guess they're not shots. Some of the renderings are just amazing, where you can see outside the window and you can see through the trees. We got to talk about this pig. This new house, it's the same
Jimmy
house,
Dean.
right? Oh my gosh, he's
Best
the
pig name.
cutest little pig in the world. I want one so bad. Oh,
Best pig ever. Yeah, you got a pig now taking place of Andy's dog, I guess here. So we got the pig who is Blaze's pet pig, little potbelly pig. That's pretty cute. I love that. Yeah, the pig looks great. You get that little
pig
like
looks so
snotty
good.
snout keeps coming in. Speaking of looking great, we got to talk about the horse here real quick because I was just reading and apparently it took like 1 year to animate the horse. They spent and they used some brand new like rendering tool that can like render things using two processors. I don't pretend to know how that works at all, but they can do it a lot quicker. But it still took a year to make this horse.
Yeah. No, I mean the textures of the animals, and that was one thing that I was like, oh my gosh, this has come so far. Um, because we see a dog, we see Andy's dog in the first few films, and it looks nothing like this. I mean, it's great. Not calling it, but man, the texture on this pig and the fact that you could see like the little bristles of hair and stuff, it's so cool.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and the
Speaking
horse
of,
looks awesome.
not to interrupt you, but speaking of the hair, I wanted to make sure I mentioned too. But Blaze has very tight, curly, slightly frizzy hair, and they used a brand new rendering tool that they created just to make that, so they could represent that hair as well in
I
Pixar
thought
films
that's
going
cool.
forward.
Yeah,
So
she looks amazing. And I really like her name's Blaze. That's like the coolest freaking name in the world. I'm gonna have a kid. I'm gonna
that's
call
pretty
him
cool.
Blaze. That's pretty neat. But
We could start
she,
calling you that
as
on the pod if you want. That could
oh
be your.
great, Brandon Blaze. Oh my gosh, that's a whole new podcast. I really loved the fact that she collects horses. So she sees Jesse and Bullseye laying down in the barn. Well, she sees Bullseye in the barn. Jesse is still like underneath some hay bales and can't get out. But she's like, "Oh, you're perfect." And she's like, I don't know where you've been, but she like puts Bullseye up on this giant like homage to like 67 horses that she has. She was definitely a horse girl. We got to talk about this. Did you know a horse girl in when you were young?
Oh yeah,
Because I knew
every
plenty.
well, you were in Texas. You were all horse girls. I think maybe if you were not a horse girl, then you were the odd one out. I think. Yeah, every school in probably the whole world probably has a horse girl in it right now.
Right, yeah. But it was so cool because there's all these different types of horses, and that's just such a cool. I loved that because it brought me right back to when I was a kid, and you had a friend over at a sleepover, and she had
Hmm.
37,000 horses on the
Yeah.
on her shelves, and
And then the best
but
the best part of that then is because she plays with Jesse and all the other toys, but then and it goes to like this weird like watercolor thing. Like it felt very much like it was like a wink and a nod to like Spider-Verse like kind of animation style in these little like play scenes where that, but all the other characters are all like these different horses
yeah,
that are in
yeah.
it. They're at like this like ballroom kind of thing. It's pretty fun. So.
Yeah, it was interesting because Blaze really likes this idea of a ballroom and like this debonair, Duke of Ellington kind of thing, right? And Bonnie is all about weddings. And so they're kind of in these phases, which I think is really interesting from a psychological perspective for kids because they do get into these interesting phases. And
Mhm.
if you ask like daycare workers or younger children educators, like it's very typical for them to go through these things where they're like play house
Mhm.
and they play wedding and then they play, they go into these phases, which I thought was really neat. But we realize, Jesse realizes that Bonnie doesn't need these three Lilypad friends because they don't want to play. But Blaze is a player. Now she's probably a little bit older than
Mhm.
Bonnie, you think, but very young at heart. And like I just I loved her whole like everything about Blaze. I liked the way that they characterized like her room was different. I like certain the all the details in the backdrop of her room was really cool. Obviously, I think it's really cool that her hair was different and it wasn't like this coiffed thing. I think that the fact that she uh used her pad to talk to a friend to be like, "Hey, you're coming over, right?" And the friend's like, "Nah, sorry, I forgot." And she's like
Mhm.
brokenhearted about it. As a parent, that's real. That's really real. Like that sadness where you're like, I can talk to anybody I want, but I'm really lonely.
Mhm.
Um, and not really understanding and like how to fix that as a parent. I really loved that they showcased that in a way that could also be digestible for children, where it's like, yeah, you're still lonely. You still need real friends that you can really see and connect with. And Jesse is like, they're perfect for each other. Let's get them together. Let's figure it out.
Mhm.
Turns out the three useless friends are actually not useless because they're the only they're all these older models that also plug into the pond, or Smarty Pants can plug into the pond, which is the
Mhm.
interweb thing that Lilypad is also attached to, so that they can find each other over the ether of the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of the interesting thing because Lilypad has like this ability to basically sabotage all the other toys, which Lilypad does earlier in the film, but then kind of gets this realization after the sleepover that it was like, oh man, these aren't real friends. These friends are terrible. She sees as they're kind of, there's this group chat thing where they're, kind of making fun of Bonnie there for playing with these toys, which is really, really sad. And, Lilypad kind of sees that and realizes that maybe she's not the best toy for that. One of the more emotional scenes in the film, spoiler again, I'm not going to get into like all the details of these things too much because I want everyone to go out and see it for themselves and take it in. But with that realization that Lilypad is messed up and Lilypad is not good for Bonnie, Lilypad literally like sacrifices itself like to the ether of abandoned toys, like at the drop of a hat, right? Like doesn't even like make any like bones about it, fuss about it, sees a way to remove herself from Bonnie's life so Bonnie can go back to her toys. And I thought that was really, really touching and emotional. But yeah, then it's time for this tech to kind of work together to bring the girls together to that end. You also have all of the Buzz Lightyears, which are going through. They're going on this journey. One of the Buzzes gets stuck under a tree roots and picked up by a kid. I really loved that because then all the Buzz Lightyears like go to rescue their fallen friend there, and they go and they see this kid's like holding him as they're listening to the story, and kind of looks at him, looks happy, and gives them a thumbs up. So they kind of move on that's setting in, and then eventually they all kind of get to this place there where it all kind of culminates. And I love that too because then you get Buzz Lightyear, our Buzz Lightyear, the OG Buzz Lightyear. These ones are our new fancy fandangled ones, which we can make mention of here in a second. But he kind of takes over, right? He's like the head Buzz Lightyear, and he's like, listen, guys. He's like, you guys are not here to be space rangers. You're here to be toys, and it's basically like the culmination of like all of the knowledge that Buzz Lightyear had gotten through the first four films, and is able to like really cement it. And because you get the first Toy Story where Woody is trying to like literally like knock it into Buzz's head that he's a toy, right? And you kind
Mm-hmm.
of get glimpses of that. And Buzz Lightyear was Andy's toy, and that was good, but really Woody was Andy's toy. And then they go to Bonnie's, and he's Bonnie's toy, and but really all of these other toys are kind of Bonnie's toys. But it's now at this point where he can kind of be top toy, right? He's been named sheriff um,
Mm.
by Jesse there, and he's able to verbalize what it truly is to be a toy to all of these people who are going on the same journey that he went through.
Yeah. Yeah, I really loved that you know, in every film they kind of talk about what is a toy and what is the purpose of a toy. In one it was the dynamic between Woody. In the second one we were talking to Jesse, like we introduced Jesse. What is a toy? What does it mean when you grow up and outgrow your toys? The third one obviously is when, where do the toys go? And and what is their purpose? Can you pass that on? And the fourth one was about, can trash be toys? And I really love that aspect of it. And so I agree. I think that was really beautiful to see, because he was able to take command, which is something he's always wanted to do,
Mhm.
but also like solidify. And it's interesting because they take it a lot better than he did when he was first told that he was a toy. They're like, oh,
Well, they
okay,
were being
that's
they
fine.
were being told it by one of their own, right? They weren't being
Right,
told
right.
it.
For sure, for sure. So that part is great, because then they're like, "Oh, by the way, we can do a lot of stuff. Not only can we get into the pond, but we've got like the ability to fly. We've got drones attached to us. We can do all this cool stuff." And that was kind of neat. I don't know if you I did not notice they were that different until about the second or third time we watched the the dynamic or the plot of these 200 Buzz Lightyears. I was like, oh, they have a different interface. And
Hmm.
maybe that's me. I'm really glad that they kind of broke it up into that way so that you kind of knew what was going on,
Yeah.
and it didn't confuse you. Because I feel like if I hadn't have caught on to that earlier, I would have been like, wait a minute, I'm so confused. Because Buzz can't do any of that, right? I mean, he's quite a few years older, so he gets to have his
Yeah.
voice where he
Yeah.
presses
Buzz
buttons, which they still have. But
Buzz could Buzz Lightyear to the rescue, and he had his little wings there, which is good for falling with style. But yeah, not a lot else that Buzz could do. His little blinky red light. They retain the red light. There you get Woody getting like lit up there with all the lasers when they come in. I
yeah,
thought that
yeah.
that scene was really great and looked really cool because Buzz and Woody like end up like outside of the house, Blaze's house, there, and then you see like I don't know, like 100 of these Buzz Lightyears just like come up out of like the garden, and they have like snails and like flowers like attached to them, like they were like in some like military like operation. Is pretty great. It's pretty great there. But yeah, they had like the little screen on their chest, so they look different than our
Mhm.
Buzz Lightyear. And then also when they all get together, our Buzz Lightyear has his little Space Ranger helmet down, and all the rest of them have it up. So you can tell who is who because they all are voiced the same and all act the same and all say the same thing. So it helps you keep it square there a little bit. But the first stop they have to go to a tree. We're not going to talk about the tree because I cried at the tree, so I know Michaela cried at the tree. And then. And then so they're off to get Bonnie back to get the toys back to Bonnie. But first you have to go save Lilypad, right? Lilypad is sacrificed herself. She hops down into a little box to go to get donated to whatever the Toy Story equivalent of Goodwill is here, I guess, and in the sense that they go and they get to this. They ride out on the fleet of horses. Which is amazing, that Blaze has, which is great because, of course, Buzz is on like the
It's
shimmery like Pegasus one, which is epic and
freaking
awesome.
amazing. I loved
What do
that
you
so much.
Woody ends
Oh,
up like on this like tiny little like like quarter toy like little like squishy horse, which is pretty funny too. But they catch up there, and yeah, the new Buzz Lightyears they get this download. I love this because it brings home everything. Michaela's still crying about the tree. We didn't even talk about it. So I love this because Lilypad like it's like so true to form, and it's so like modern, and a lot of times like I don't love when films lean into things or like active now, but it feels like what he says there. He's like tech is forever. Tech can do everything because the Lilypad scans the QR code on Buzz Lightyear and downloads this update, and then they can all turn into drones and fly everyone back to exactly where they need to be. And then you get a very touching scene with Buzz and Jesse. The tears keep coming. Michaela's crying through this whole like second half of the film, I think. So.
yeah, pretty much. I don't know. I thought that the ending of this, like the second half of this, I don't know if it could have been any better, to be honest, because you have a lot of dynamics that kind of you've been hoping for as a watcher, as an audience member. Like Jesse and Buzz kind of have their moment. He finally gets to talk to her, and she's like, he doesn't actually get to really ask her, but she's like, yeah, like you don't even have to ask, like, I love that. And I really loved kind of the dynamic again now when they start working together, and like tech, it doesn't have to be the enemy. Um, and I think the big thing that changes is when Jesse realizes through the friendship or the uh, dual kind of help of her and those other three kind of older tech
Mhm.
that they also really love their person. They really want what's best for them. And Lilypad is no different. And in fact, you're right. Like Lilypad's like, man, I'm not good for her at all. I'm done. Like I'm out. I
Mhm.
don't. I just throw me away completely. I don't need to touch another kid either. Right. Which is really like very black and white, but it sounds very techie, right? Where it's like good or bad, and it's like
Right.
maybe it's a little bit of both, right? Um, but I love
Yeah.
that they finally have this dynamic, and Blaze ends up, um, it comes to a full conclusion. I don't want to spoil all of it, but I just really liked the way that it didn't paint the Lily pad, to be this awful thing at the end. Um,
Mhm.
but it also really shows, this film really shows like what cyberbullying can do, and like what if you're not kind, right? Like you can really use tech to be very cruel, and um but tech can also bring you closer together if if you keep it in perspective of what it's used for, and what is its useful purpose um
Mhm.
for children. And I thought that that was really great. um yeah, I have more thoughts, but I don't want to. We can kind of talk about that in
Yeah.
the summary.
I think it was a really good way to present it because I both from the trailer and then kind of your introduction to, Lilypad, and you're seeing it, through the eyes of Jesse and through the other toys. And, Lilypad is, portrayed as this villainous character, and then as it, kind of progresses, you realize that Lilypad's not really a villain, right? Like Lilypad also is doing the things that, it thinks is, the best for Bonnie under those circumstances. I loved that um Jesse is, kind of with these other tech toys and still like not like trusting of them, has called them useless and all this stuff. And maybe you look at like a toilet training toy and you're like, well, okay, yeah, maybe you are kind of useless. And then the little camera like turns around and it shows all the pictures of like Blaze, like at Disney World, having taken those pictures. And then you know that camera roll kind of ends and they're like, well, that was, when we were done, being played with by Blaze, and we went into that little drawer under the stairs, right? And so that's really sad, and that, is very eye-opening to Jesse, who has, had experienced, similar kind of thing with Emily there. And to that end, wanted to kind of hit on this, I guess, as the final kind of like point on the movie. I guess you'd mentioned, Tim Allen and um Tom Hanks and their voices, and going on and on, forever, and passing the torch. And I think that they did, because Toy Story 5 isn't a story about Woody, and it's not a story about Buzz. It's a story about Jesse.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I really liked that at like, and again, I don't want to spoil it, but the end montage I think was really, really special. I loved the way it looked. I love the way it felt. Um, I don't want to spoil it, but I just thought that that was a really beautiful kind of ending and send off to the film. Um, and man, Pixar, Toys, like they just know. They just know. This is a film for kids for sure. Um, my son watched the preview and started crying, and then was like, "I think I want to have a padless summer, like a screenless summer."
Hmm.
Um, because he was like, I feel bad that I'm not playing with any of my other toys because they probably miss me, which is like so cool in a way. But also like this is really great for parents too, because you can see some of the parents' actions and how they are trying to figure out what's best for their kids. They don't know what to do. That dynamic of like the kid doesn't know how to explain they're feeling and why they're feeling that, and the parents are just kind of caught, and they're like, well, they drive, one of the moms drives the other one over, and then the kid's like, no, I don't want those toys anymore, and so she drives back. She's real confused. And I
Hmm.
really love that, because as a parent I'm very confused. And I thought it was great to show that, and to almost normalize like, hey, no one really knows what we're doing with tech, right? We don't know if it's the
Right.
right thing or
Hmm.
not. And you have all these ideas that it's going to be great, but what if it's not? And but does that mean that it's absolutely horrible either? All of that. I just really thought this was really beautiful in that it had that duality, and Pixar's known for that, for
Hmm.
making stories that are digestible to both young people and full adults. And they did it again. And yeah, I cried like a baby almost the entire second half.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really incredible and remarkable that here it's, 2026, and we're getting this film, this story that's a culmination that was seeded in, like a 60-second flashback from a movie that came out in 1999. Like, and it culminates on, wrapping wrapping that, flashback up just so beautifully. So yeah, I don't want to talk any more about that, because I don't want to spoil it for people who may not have watched it, because it's really really emotional and really beautiful and heartfelt and all those things. So I don't want to talk about that anymore. Let's talk about just a couple of other things here, Michaela. The music has always been a big part of the Toy Story world. Of course, Randy Newman is back to do this. Will there be some more score things? Actually, I don't think so. I don't think the way that it's structured now, the score is eligible for that. I think it only got one score, so it's probably been that way since 1995. But there's been an original song nominated for all four of the Toy Stories here, and the fifth one taking a big swing because I don't know if there was a Randy Newman original. Maybe there was, probably there was. I don't know for sure, but there is one by the one, the only Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I gotta say, the final credits are so cool because it just starts. And I had purposely not listened to this song.
I
It's
hadn't
come
heard
up,
it yet either, huh?
yeah. There have been a couple of things that I've watched where it's like blurbs of it, and I'm like, nah, I don't want to hear it. And I kind of forgotten about it until the end. And
Yeah, same. Yeah.
it's so good. I mean, I think this is definitely going to be up for best animated picture. Yeah, it's gonna, you know, best sound maybe because there were a lot of different sounds going on at the same time, as well as best song. I don't know if it'll win,
Yeah.
because I haven't heard all the stuff this year,
I was gonna
but
say
it's so good.
I don't know if it'll win, and I don't know if it is deserved to be nominated, but I almost it's without a doubt it's going to get nominated for best original song. There's
Yep.
0%
Yep.
chance that it is not nominated for it at least, and that's a conversation for a different day. But I Taylor Swift's a genius, and it fits so perfectly with the tone of the
Hmm.
film. I thought
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really liked, I did see an excerpt, and Randy Newman was he's done the score, and he fully supported this song, which is great. I mean, you want to make sure this is a dynasty. You don't want to mess this up. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think they did a really good job with it. Yeah. Any other thoughts? That was Toy Story 5.
That was Toy Story 5. Toy Story 5 is beautiful. I thought it was more or less perfect. I thought it was a perfect wrap up. I mean, what you could say about Toy Story Part 3, you could say it about Toy Story Part 4, and you could say it about Toy Story Part 5 now. So, I mean, if they're going to keep making Toy Stories, as long as they continue to be perfect, then I guess that's fine. So,
Yeah.
they can keep doing it as long as they want. This was so good. I'm probably not going to make it back out to the theater to see it, but I'm definitely going to watch it again once it hits streaming. And yeah, I it was there was lots of emotions going through this, which I mean honestly I wasn't like super emotional watching the first four, like all those storylines, but yeah, this one hits pretty hard. So there you go. So yeah, that's going to wrap it up, I guess, for Toy Story Part 5. Go check it out. Watch all the other Toy Stories. Let us know if you have a favorite installment. Let us know what your favorite toy is and why is it Rex. Let us know if you make yourself up a Lilypad cocktail, or if you have any of your own Lilypad tales you'd like to tell. Go ahead and do that. You can do that on our social media. It's at Drink the Movies on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Facebook.com/Drink the Movies. If you want to see pictures of the cocktails that we're making, episode recaps, recipes, links to all of our things, that can be found on the website. It's www.drinkthemovies.com. You can go there. Some of those links will go to places fun like Patreon, which is where we do our bonus episodes. We have a bonus episode for Masters of the Universe up right now. We do our monthly Patreon patron hangouts through there. All that can be found at patreon.com/drink the movies. Michaela, we have a bunch more. I think we have another new release coming out next week, so we're gonna have to get back to the theater again to see the hype, the excitedness for these movies. Can't wait this summer, I guess. So we're just keep going. So where can people follow along with all of our all of our tales of movie going and movie watching?
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, anywhere where Spotify podcasts are supported and distributed. We do 2 drops a week here at Drink the Movies. We talk in our lobby bar about what's going on in the box office, and make an easy cocktail that anyone, even you, can make. And then we do our deep dives like the one you just heard today. We've done 274 of these. I guarantee that there is a film that you loved out there that we probably talked about. So go check those out. If you like it, please leave a 5-star review. And also, if you like video games, if you're just interested in the history of video games, this is a tech film. This is a tech film.
Yeah.
If you're interested in any of that stuff, you should go check out Drink the Video Games because it's amazing. Brian does a really great job. Literally, it always gets like in the top five pod of like independent video game podcasts. So you should really go check it out. It's awesome. I go in, I give a cocktail and talk about that I've never played the video game or even heard of what he's done because I lived under a rock apparently. But it's really good. You should go check it out. Drink the Video Games.
No, well,
Do it.
thank you so much for that plug. I'm going to piggyback off of that plug. Pixar was a Lucasfilm thing, and it was born out of the Lucasfilm computer group, which spun out Pixar and Lucasfilm Games slash LucasArts, which we talk about in the LucasArts point and click adventure game. So you can go check out that episode if you want a little bit more information on how that got founded. So thank you so much for that, and thank you so much for all of you listeners out there. We definitely appreciate it. Stop by, yeah, give us a review. We haven't gotten a review in quite a while. I'd love to get a review here going into the summer. That would be great. So do that, and we'll talk to y'all next time on
Drink
Drink the
the movies.
Movies.
Extinction? Not again.
I was going to say you've got a friend in me, but we'll skip it.
You got a friend in me.